me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
I mean, I take a lot of pride in my work. My team takes a lot of pride in their work. So when they pull off things like projects with hard dates, you know, you're trying to press forward with weather, with other requests. We do all this with Henry County. We're roughly about 30 people.
Wow.
Manage all these problems.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Today, we're highlighting Bryan Dixon, Deputy Administrator of Park Services in Henry County, Georgia. Bryan brings deep expertise in turf management and a 20-year coaching background to lead a dedicated team of 40 professionals. Together, they manage 26 parks, over 1,800 acres, and more than 100 playing surfaces, from daily maintenance to major projects like the beautiful Cochran Park. Their mission? To not just maintain, but transform Henry County's parks into safer, more vibrant spaces that serve the whole community. By tackling long-standing challenges and focusing on residents' needs, Bryan and his team are building stronger, greener communities every day. Get ready to be inspired by the passion and leadership behind these incredible public spaces. Let's dive in. All right, we are live again, a few minutes behind schedule. My fault completely. Had some technical issues, but it's Craig LeBlanc, the doorman, with the Daily Parks and Rec Show Facilities Maintenance Edition. We have a great special guest with us, and I say special because him and his team were putting together a monthly podcast on how a well-run Parks and Rec department works with all the leaders on the same show. This is Henry County, Georgia. And so welcome to the show, Bryan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Thank you for having us or having me on this show. It's a great opportunity to tell our story.
Yeah. And so, you know, one thing we do with the Daily Parks and Rec Show is we have all these different, I guess, silos of expertise and craftsmanship that goes into running a Parks and Rec department. Bryan is just one of them that's in charge of so much of the Parks and Rec department. And often they're just on separate shows, but we're putting together a podcast where everyone that runs a parks, all the leaders of a Parks and Rec department have a single show that we can really, you know, see it all come together on stage. And so we'll be launching that. I think didn't we decide second Wednesdays of the month? Is that the date?
Yes, sir. That's what I saw.
So, yeah, second Wednesdays of the month. We're coming up with a logo. We'll have a show slot for them, and I'm just really excited about that. So maybe help people understand what is your title, what do you do for the park systems, and then we'll go down that rabbit hole.
All right. So I'm Deputy Administrator of Park Services. I oversee 26 parks, roughly 1,800 acres of just green space, over 100 playing surfaces that we maintain at a high level. And then we have additional 40 government facilities that we've been tasked to maintain as well.
And you're in charge of maintaining all the grounds, all the maintenance crews. That's all part of your operation.
Yes, sir. That and project management. We have anything going on like renovations. We just got done with a phase 1 project at Cochran Park, Stockbridge, Georgia. Phase 1. Phase 2 is coming just as soon as they wrap up. But I oversee those type of projects, meet with contractors, you know, a lot of phone calls, times 3 sometimes due to policy and procedures, you know. But yeah, we just grind, you know.
Yeah. So maybe let's dig into those two categories of your job. So there's the ongoing maintenance, which is, you know, the war against Mother Nature and all the weeds that she throws at us is one side of it. And then there's this project management side where
you're either updating facilities, refurbishing them, or starting them from ground up. So let's go with that one first. Let's go with because I think that's one that we don't talk about a whole lot in the facilities maintenance show, but a lot of times it's thrown on your shoulders. So um, maybe describe a little bit what it means to manage a project for your county.
Well, first and foremost, we have great leadership. I mean, starting with our county manager, her vision, our chair, the board, our executive directors, JP, whom everybody will meet later. The vision is just there. And I have a background in turf and maintenance, but also was in the coaching world for about 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Travel balls, local high schools. I've done the last stint was at Ola High School, which is 7 miles down the road. Spent about 4 years there, and then when I got this position, I cut all that out of the schedule because I knew what was coming. But to have all that support first, that means the world. And then when you get into diving into community parks like Cochran Park that had been closed down, they wanted to close it down a few years ago. Had massive sinkholes coming up. Fence lines, fences just aged, worn, beat down. And no real access, no concrete leading, behind dugouts or behind home plates and things of that nature. So, we just flip it. And the community is very appreciative. I think they were very weary at first. There's that whole trust factor thing that you got to establish at first. But now that they've seen phase one, I think that they're really excited to see phase two. And I mean, that just means, I take a lot of pride in my work. My team takes a lot of pride in their work. So when they pull off things like projects with hard dates, you're trying to press forward with weather, with other requests. We do all this with Henry County with roughly about 30 people.
Wow.
Manage all these projects.
Now, when you talk about, so just to kind of frame it for the audience a little, you're managing a real estate portfolio of, I'm just going to throw a number out there and you can kind of correct me, but let's just say you're managing 50 pieces of property and they're all at different ages. Maybe one was built last year and the other one was built 50 years ago. And so you've got these older properties that now have gotten to the point to where we either need to sell them, shut them down or whatever, because we've deferred this maintenance as long as we can. And now it's almost become unusable. So maybe talk about that life cycle. When does a property go from brand new? How many years does it take to, okay, now we got to start putting some love and attention into it?
So we're actually, going through that process right now. When JP came on board, the first thing that he wanted to do was develop a master plan and let the community have a lot of say in what we're bringing into these parks. And so we went through the master plan portion of it, and it's obvious what they want. They want us to maintain what we have. They want the old things brought up to the new standard. They've been very vocal about that through all kind of focus groups and different types of examples. Dropping coins in the buckets. Figuring out where they want their tax dollars.
Right. And so, how long? What are some of the things that are obvious needs attention every maybe 7 years or decade that a facility you'll have to reinvest? Because I know a lot of times you get great funding up front. Everybody wants to fund a new project, but nobody wants to fund maintenance, ongoing maintenance, and then the refurbishment that these properties need every 7 to 10 years. What is the cadence that you have to start reinvesting back into an old property?
I think that depends on your situation. There's certain organizations that have crews and things like that at each location, and that's the direction we're moving towards, or that's the direction we want to move towards. But obviously, it takes a lot of time and effort to get to that point. So back to your point,
Yeah.
it's just, I'm sorry, man. I got lost in my jellyfish over
Is
here.
it like,
Look at this.
yeah,
Check
so
this
is it
out.
like,
Jellyfish.
oh yeah.
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So is it like every
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm
like
sorry.
7 years you want to repaint the place?
Well, yeah. I mean, you want to. It depends on your situation. You know, the more care that you have there, the more attention that's there more often, the better it's going to be. If your crew, your crew's just out, trying to manage several parks, those places typically probably get a little more wear and tear in them first. You know, here, my standard, the way our standard is, if I start seeing paint flaking on curbs, for fire lanes or caution, like we're going to repaint that immediately.
Right.
Like we don't try not to let those things linger. We try to keep our facilities pressure washed, curbs, sidewalks, all that. We try to do that every other year to have a real deep cleaning to keep it, nice and presentable.
Oh, wow.
From the field maintenance portion, you really should be laser grading your fields every probably 7 years if you don't have a staff there, all the time to work those lips out and to move dirt around. People forget that clay surfacing also needs love and attention, just like grass does.
What is laser? What would you say? Laser leveling?
Laser grading, yeah, that's where you basically take it back down to ground zero, and you build it back up to allow the water to shed the way it needs to, and remove any lips that may form from where the
Foot traffic?
Sir?
Is the foot traffic what causes that in those?
Yeah, foot traffic so like in the golf industry, it's not the foot traffic as much as trying to be proactive.
Right.
In the turf world, for sports turf, you can tend to grow out of a lot of situations, but wear and tear is probably the number one problem that we all face when it comes to repairing turf. Soccer fields, mouse of goals, football fields, center of football fields are going to get chewed up. Things like that. There's going to be a kid at 7 years old in the outfield digging a hole with his foot because he's bored, because he ain't had a ball hit to him in a while,
Right,
So, I mean, those things exist and they happen, and you just, we try to repair immediately.
Yeah.
That's our standard.
Yeah. And so what does that look like? So what I'm thinking is between compaction and kids so if you've got a baseball field, you've got common places where a kid will stand either in the outfield or by the dugout or coming in and out of the dugout that are just going to need a much higher degree of maintenance than maybe a part of the grass that it's hardly ever walked on is just kind of cut. And so you're having to go in there and scrape it down, rebuild it back up.
Yeah, I mean, there's practices you can use that we use. Of course, we have to be conscious of the schedule of any athletic scheduling going on. You don't want to necessarily go core aerate all your soccer fields right there in the middle of their prime time. We know kind of our schedule and where we fall. We have a strict plan, windows of opportunity when we go in and do it. Here in about 2 weeks, we're getting ready to start core aerating. We're going to start with 14 soccer fields, and then we're going to move into 14 more football fields, and then we're going to move across the county with all our soccer and baseball and everything else. It'll take us probably, a week to do it with the team that we have here. They're very in tune with the sports turf world.
And so how many fields do y'all maintain? And then how many properties do those fields sit on for Henry County?
So, I mean, it's over 100. It's like 105 like playing surfaces. That's football, baseball, soccer, bocce ball, you name it. And then there's four rec centers that sit on those properties. And you'll have some parks like JP Mosley Park that's in Stockbridge. It has 4 football fields. It has a disc golf course, 27-hole disc golf course. Has a rec center on it. It has 4 softball fields. And
Yeah.
then you have probably mixed between all that, you probably maintaining roughly 100 acres of just, what sits on
Right.
top of the curbs,
That's right. Right. Now, just to give some people where you're at. So, as far as in the country, y'all are right outside of the Atlanta metro area. What's the population of your county? Any idea?
We're growing daily. Yeah. I mean, I would say that we're probably on the cusp, and I could be wrong here, but I would say that we're on the cusp of maybe 200,000.
Yeah.
Maybe more, maybe less. I'm not real sure. Thomas keeps up with a lot of that, and he can tell you, how many residents moved in to our county yesterday.
Right. Well, we'll define all that because we've got 12 shows a year coming out to define and get all the details of a county, what they face, the properties they manage, and the leadership team and how they do all that. And so I'm really glad that you've come on to the facilities maintenance show leading up to that. So that way the people get to kind of understand all the different, working components of it. So then, okay, so let's go into the, let's just say it's like a new project. So what are the types of projects maybe that you're assigned that kind of hit your plate?
Okay, so currently I'm working on 4 additional parks. I'm not going to name them because everybody gets excited and wants to be first.
Yeah.
But we're looking at revamping some parks that just fences are bad, and the infields are bad, and the concrete around it is bad. And I say bad, I don't mean like it's cracking and broken. I mean, it's just access. People like to sit around home plates and watch their kids play. There's ADA challenges that we have to meet in order to make sure that everybody has access to what we're doing. So, just trying to fix, 30-year-old problems, 20-year-old problems that, we have now, and it was no one's fault.
Right.
Then it was a different time. Then, we just hit a different level of growth in our community, and our community has high expectations, and we plan on giving them all that. So,
right. And so you've got basic wear and tear as a construction project or project that you have to manage. We've got, maybe you want to tear down an old playground, put in a new playground. And then you've got, what are some of the other additions? When you say upgrade, I know one I was familiar with was the LED lights, because I did that for like 10 years of my life. And so park departments like y'all would just say, give me the material, I can put the lights up. How old are a lot of your properties?
They vary. I mean, they vary across. I mean, we have some that were, established in the 80s. We have some that were established earlier than that, 60s, 70s. We have structures, concession stands and stuff that, were built in the 80s that just show their wear and tear. And, the things that kind of hold up anything like that are funding, how we're going to pay for it, where that's going to come from. Those are, the questions that have to be asked. I think sometimes community doesn't understand that portion of it. That their tax dollars are guarded.
Oh yeah.
It's guarded. It makes it's not hard, but it makes you have to follow the procedures to get things done.
Yeah. Now, how many projects do you manage in a given year? I know they're all different shapes and sizes, but
I don't know. I mean, I'll have 3 going on at one time. We did Sandy Ridge, Cochran Park, and Mount Carmel at the same time. And that's adding new signage throughout the park. Getting away from street signs rec center, just rec center over here, or dog litter, or or just your generic stop signs, street signs. Trying to get away from things like that and do more ornamental post with more of a custom looking sign. Do not park here with the Henry County logo. That's a little lower to the ground. Sometimes in parks we'll want to put a sign up for everything. we want to put a sign up for no dumping, no parking, no smoking, we'll put signs up. And
Right.
what happens is that over time, it just becomes unsightly.
Right.
And so what we're trying to do is streamline a lot of that into just some more beautification style signs.
Right.
But really trying to streamline a lot of more information on a prettier sign.
Yeah. And so a lot of these projects, I imagine they're coming from different categories. They may come from the category of this was the old way, this is the new way. Back then, like you said, we just put any kind of street looking sign, but now we've kind of shifted 20 years later into let's put something that's not so unsightly. And then you've got your wear and tear projects like the fields that you were talking about that need maybe every couple of years some attention. And so I'm thinking, are you pushing through maybe 3 to 5 or 6 projects a month through your department?
No, it's a project that will typically take a little longer than that,
Mhm.
because I'm dealing with contractors and things like that, and we have to, they're always 2 or 3 ahead, weeks of
Mhm.
behind and things scheduling. 6 months,
Oh, wow.
6 months, for me,
Right.
and a lot of that, it moved a little quicker if I was maybe like private sector, but
Right.
when you have to get 3 quotes, you have to write a scope of work, you have to meet with all of them, you got to explain,
Gotta bond it.
and
Yeah.
I look at it like we got one time to do this and we're going to do it right the first time. And
Mhm.
you were asking about upgrades earlier. Like your standard batting cage you'd walk up to, it'd be just a 60-foot long batting cage on concrete, maybe got some turf in it, maybe it doesn't, you got an L screen in there with a pad a kid hits on.
Mhm.
We've tried to bring like your indoor facility style batting cage where it's like a 50 by 60 pad and
Mhm.
it's wrapped completely with net, and you have the ability to either have a 50 by 60 area to work with your whole team, or you can start pulling curtains and make it 3 batting cages or 1 batting cage so it's those type of things that we're doing. We're also including new like hitting apparatuses. This is a 3D printed model of it, but
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
B-Stack. A lot of kids, they show up, they don't have somebody to come throw ball with them. Maybe they don't live with a dad. They can go show up and hit in our parks
Right.
by themselves.
Right.
Um,
Oh, that's neat. And then a
community
lot of
loves it.
these are on you can also put the whole show on concrete. That way it's not wearing down the grass or whatever and
Right.
needing a
All
little
our
maintenance.
all our hitting stations we put on a 10 by 10 pad with poles around it, wrap them around with nets just for kids swinging bats and other kids wandering into an area they don't need to be in. All those stations are concreted in, and they can adjust depending on the height of the kid. It's just trying to give people more options when they visit the park. Everybody wants to go hit in the cage, but if the cage is full, then you can go down here and hit off these things.
Right. Right. And so y'all have you said over 110 sports fields?
Yes, sir.
My goodness, that's a lot to maintain. And how many people are you given to do all this with? Just your side of the department?
For me, I have probably roughly 40,
Mhm.
give or take a position, but they're
Mhm.
broke up in many different ways. I have park rangers at different parks. Some of my bigger parks that when I first got in my role that had a lot of problems like trash and a lot of complaints and things like that, I started putting a whole crew in that park more often. I put a ranger in that park. His only job is to engage with community, keep them in the know as far as what events and programs we have going on, and build relationship. But oh, by the way, pick up some trash along the way, report
Yeah.
to me any damage, things like that. So I've been able to do that at a couple parks. The other ones we just have to break it up and do the best we can. Which my sports turf management team, they are next to none, led by one of my
Mhm.
superintendents. He
Yeah.
was my former assistant golf course superintendent, and I'd have
Oh,
to see
wow.
some pictures. I mean, the way some of our sports fields look, our tournament fields look, is Major League turf
Yeah.
quality.
Oh my goodness.
They're
That is,
beautiful.
that has got to be one of the most underappreciated crafts out there. I have actually seen the difference. So I was on a sports field for a pretty wealthy high school, Episcopal High School in Baton Rouge, and they had one, I guess, head turf guy, and all he did was just cut the grass.
Mhm.
And when he retired, they hired a guy that maintained a golf course. And man, it was like the scientist came out,
Oh yeah,
and
I,
it was night and day difference.
and that's what I call Chris. He's my mad scientist.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a team that has a broad understanding of chemicals and integrated pest management and things like that.
Mhm.
They do a phenomenal job of being proactive. I mean, it's preempts, it's keeping the weeds out of not even giving the weeds a chance to even grow.
Mhm.
So we're proactive in that stance. They do a very good job. And if they have anything pop up, I mean, they're on it.
Mm.
They take a lot of pride in their work. Um, I have two of the best two superintendents I could possibly ask for. My team is incredible. I couldn't do
Yeah.
any of this. I couldn't be talking to you right now without
Right.
everybody that I have here. Shane Massey and Chris Calmanero have been two of the biggest helps that I could ever ask for.
Yeah.
Shane does a lot of the admin stuff, and Chris is the turf guy, and together, it just works.
But we'll have to get them on the maintenance show just to talk field maintenance. Um, and so so you say you have 40 guys. Let's maybe pick that apart a little bit and add a little color to that. So how many grass cutters, how many, you said you had a couple of managers, and describe for us the staff and their roles and titles and stuff.
All right. So I have, I'll give you a breakdown first of staff. So
Yeah.
a deputy administrator, and then you have two superintendents.
Mhm.
And then under them, I have three supervisor twos that they report to them directly. Under the
Now,
supervisor two,
what does that 2 stand for? Is that just,
just
supervisor? That means they're over a crew or something?
yeah, they actually help with the day to day. So
Mhm.
the saying around here is that Chris and Shane help me worry about tomorrow, and all the rest of you worry about today.
Ah, got it.
So everybody below my superintendents are working, on today's operations, taking phone calls, moving assets, resources around, people having conversations. I mean, they use technology, so it's not like they're on the phone all the time. It's a group me. It's a simple communication, but they're good at it.
Mhm.
I have a millennial group, and I mean, they work really, really hard, man.
Mm.
I've been very impressed. I bragged to my superintendent sometime that we're kind of on autopilot, so to
Yeah.
speak,
Yeah.
but every day brings about new challenges. So we just look
Yeah.
forward to what that looks like.
So you said you have 3 number 2s?
Yeah, they have three twos, and then
Now
under
what do their
them,
groups comprise of?
so under them they oversee, uh, like Mario will oversee all my AED, all my safety, all my risk things that are going on in the park. He'll go in and make sure that the concession stands are not packing their stuff up around furnaces and
Mhm.
stuff, keeps everybody to code. Alex is my other supervisor too. He is more of my day to day. He chops up the day for me. I give him tasks, and then he's the one telling everybody where they're going and who they're going with and how they're going to do it. He's really good at it, brilliant at it, actually. He
Mm.
comes up with plans like that, you know.
Right.
Um, and then I have newly promoted J.K. Lee, who was also a part of my golf course crew several years ago. He's just blossomed. He's taken his Category 24 pesticide license. He's uh, dove into the responsibilities, and he is more into the turf side. So they handle all my athletics, like any
Mhm.
tournaments that come into town, any leads that need to be set up, anything like that. That's what they handle. So Chris handles the athletic pesticides. Shane handles the more the operation day to day as far as events, special requests,
Right.
things like that. Because all that other, while we have routine maintenance going on, there's all these other requests. Somebody needs something hung up in an office. Somebody, a commissioner has a request in this district. Somebody, so we're trying to figure that out along the way. So
Mhm.
we call ourselves the pivot team.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the equipment that this entire 40-man crew has. How many lawnmowers? How many trailers? How many trucks? What are the
Not
different
enough.
spreaders? Not. It's
Not
all
enough.
broke, halfway broken, and we're trying to pitch it.
It's not broken. Our facility, I mean, our fleet maintenance team does a good job keeping
Good.
equipment running. They keep the trucks going, keep the air blowing in them for the guys. We have a guy that's in-house that does more of just like the routine maintenance on mowers, something a little bigger that we would take it to fleet. But
Right.
for us, just blade changing, routine oil change. Our equipment, we have two guys that stay on top of that pretty regularly.
Now,
Daily.
fleet, that's another part of the city that y'all have access to for all city vehicles and stuff like that?
Yeah, we have different departments. We have building maintenance department, who is absolutely phenomenal. And they really are the guys that take care of the interior and exterior of a lot of our buildings in Henry County, tag offices, libraries, senior services. If a roof leaking, that's who you're calling. If something needs to be built, that's who you're calling.
And that's
they're
not
really
that's not under you, right? That's a different department, building
that's
maintenance.
that's a different department.
And do
But
they
I have my own skillful guys to take away, not to take away from them, but I know how much they got going on.
right.
And if our guys have the skills and the ability to do it, then we'll just do it and
Right.
work together as a team. So
Now, so would they have an electrician on staff in building maintenance, but you have some guys that can do maybe change a light or swap a receptacle or something, but if it's anything above that, you kind of kick it over to them? Is that kind of how it works?
really, like changing light bulbs, something like that. Yeah. But like I try to kick everything over to them because they're so good at it.
Right.
I mean, I know how to wire a switch, but I'm
Right.
not an electrician.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have doubt after I put that switch in.
Right.
Our facilities group is led by Gregory Brown, and his name's G. I call him G. That's not what we're supposed to call him, but I call him G because he's so good to me.
Right.
I mean, they're so talented. Why would we do that when we have people that are professionals and know how to do that?
Yeah, I can tell you as a former master electrician, well, I guess I'm always a master electrician, but our guys always wanted a bigger truck with more storage because the most expensive, and here's a quote going out to all my craftsmen that will understand this. The most expensive part, the most expensive tool is the one you don't have, because the whole job shuts down because you're missing that one little nut or that one little tool.
Been there too many times.
Yeah. And so they're always wanting more storage on their trucks to have all the tools that they have to solve these problems. And when you kind of have like half the tools you need, it's so frustrating.
Yeah. Look, I got a crew cab. I got a guy he's got a crew cab out there, and ain't but two people ride in it because the whole back seat's full of just toolboxes and tools. He has everything, So
Right.
he's my mobile Lowe's is what I call him.
That's right. It essentially is a mobile warehouse that has every tool, and you look in their truck and you're like, why do you have all that stuff? And you'd be shocked that, wait, I think I have one of these, and they start digging and they hop out with that one
Every
thing.
time. I can't tell you how many times them guys have saved me, man. Like we'll be in an event like 30 minutes across town. Because Henry County is huge. I mean, when you get in the traffic, it's a nightmare. And so we may have an event that 30, 40 minutes away from the shop, and we need something, and every time he got it.
Mm-hmm.
May have to go dig for it, but he got it.
That's right. I heard that so many times. I know I got it in here somewhere. And a lot of times these problems are happening on nights and weekends, and there ain't no wholesale house open that has what you need. So That's why they're all those master craftsmen are always saving one of everything on their truck in case a breaker goes out or plumbing fitting or something happens at the worst time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to have them at your disposal. And so how many lawnmowers do y'all have for your whole system?
Roughly 20.
Oh gosh,
I
that's
need,
a lot.
I need, so we're in the middle right now of trying to get rid of some that have aged out. And we have some that we want to keep, but we really we need to get some more. So I got 20 mowers, rotary mowers, and then I got 3 to 4 real mowers that cut our athletic fields, our tournament fields. We would like to, in the future, move more towards the reels on our fields and the rotaries on the outside. But that's going to take some time to get there, and cause it takes money. People want to know how we're going to fund it, how are we going to get there. So
describe your normal lawnmower. Is that a 60-inch deck, 48-inch, 72?
John Deere 60-inch deck.
And what do those run y'all? I know y'all probably, counties get special pricing. So if you're a consumer, don't expect to get these pricings.
Yeah, right. So really across the board, because I've got a lot of experience with a lot of the companies out there, Toros, Skags, Grasshoppers, you name it. I've probably dealt with it, rode it before in my lifetime.
So you used to cut grass when you were younger?
Oh yeah, I grew up. My mom and dad, man, I grew up. Man, my grandmother at the age of 4 and 5 used to pay me a nickel to pick up pine cones in the yard. Okay,
nice.
Like, growing up, I grew up maintenance. My mom and dad had a maintenance crew that they ran for a living. Amongst that and pressure washing, and they did fine. They had an excellent. They did excellent with it. But I grew up cutting grass, running lawnmowers and weed eaters. And I remember being like 13, 14 years old, weed eating like a ditch. I'd be out with my mom because she's the one, really. Y'all should talk to her because she's
the maintenance crew.
To this day, by herself, she still maintains roughly 25 acres of grass.
Wow.
That's weeding and mowing. And she's close to 70.
That'll keep her young.
I hope she don't see this because I know she's younger than 70, but she's doing amazing, Yeah.
Fantastic. And so what would you say you have in just a general back of the napkin price point on all of your equipment?
Yeah, it's around $12,000 to $13,000 per mower.
Times 20. So you're looking at $250,000.
That's the most effective. That's the most. That's the best pricing I've found. Anything else, man, is going to be 14, 15. Some companies even think that 18 to 20 is appropriate for a 60, 72-inch mower. But with us, Ag Pro, John Deere, they're right around the corner. We have an outstanding relationship with them. So yeah, it works for us,
we need to get them as a sponsor for the maintenance show.
Yeah, for sure. Ag Pro, let's go.
That's it. And so how long does it take y'all to wear these machines out? Is it like a 4 or 7 year turnaround cycle time?
Well,
I know it depends on how you treat them, but just on average.
Yeah, we treat them good, but the 1,800 green space acres that I mentioned earlier is not always the best. The mowers take a beating sometimes. I think that mowers, like if you're commercial the way we are, I feel like your mowers really should be rotated out every 4 or 5 years. One, because the community knows that their tax dollars look good while they're out riding around. I've had in the 19 years I've been here cutting grass, I've had people approach me about the shape of the equipment, and it wasn't my fault. It was just an older piece of equipment,
Right.
So, for every 4 or 5 years, you probably get a lot more out of that if you take good care of it,
Right.
but in a commercial setting, I feel like, you probably should be rotating them things in and out.
Yeah, because your maintenance will just eat you alive if you don't
Well,
cycle it
yeah,
out.
and that's what's going to happen is like you can hold on to a piece of equipment for 10 years, 12 years.
Mhm.
But when you have like spindles and things like that start going out on them, and then you start putting new spindles back in them, it just
Mhm.
don't go together the way it used to over
Yeah.
time.
And you got
And
downtime.
well, that means more belts are slinging, more often,
Yeah.
and it equates to all that. If you got new equipment and you keep it rotated in, I'm a fan of the lease. I know that our government is not. They'd like to purchase. I understand that 100%. I
Yeah.
support whatever they want to do. But I'm a fan of the lease because I like to keep the equipment fresh. I like to keep it new. I like to send a message to the community that we know what we're doing.
Right. Right. And so when it comes to these mowers, so let's say you got a guy. Well, first of all, how many guys sit on a mower every day for you? Is it like 8 of them, 10 of them sitting on a mower? Or no, probably
So we
closer.
have eight. So I have 8 crews that go out, and
Mhm.
I have 2 mowers on each crew.
Mhm.
I have one trailer that can actually carry 3 mowers.
Mhm.
They need it. And then I just have some backup units because if something goes down, I can't. I need it now. I
The
can't. I
grass is still
can't.
growing, whether you're up or not.
Doesn't know the difference between a mower sitting in the shop for 2 3 days.
Right.
And I don't always get to pick the times. Like this week, we've had rain every day this week,
Yeah.
and we were already behind, and
Yeah.
so the guys went out in the rain and cut and made it look all good. I mean, they did what they had to do.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
So we haven't found a software yet that schedules our breakages. They just kind of show up randomly.
man, at the worst times.
Yeah. And so if a man is working for you 40 hours a week and he's assigned to a lawnmower, how many of those 40 hours are actually sitting cutting? So is he cutting 30 hours and the rest
I
he's
probably
going to and
yeah,
from
they're,
and
they're probably sitting on mowers 6 hours a day.
6 hours a day?
Yeah, from in peak season. Now, I mean, that's not all we do. I mean, uh, we build a lot of props. We build a lot of stuff. I mean, we're famous for cutting grass, but
Right.
we do a lot more. Because
Mhm.
really, grass isn't really growing until about May. So
Yeah.
for here in Georgia, Bermuda grass really didn't start growing until about May,
Mhm.
and then it's not gonna stop growing until the evening temperatures get down below 55, 50 below that.
Yeah.
Um, Anything before May is weeds. Y'all remember that?
That's
Uh,
it. So and that's kind of the perception is that all you're doing is cutting the grass. So maybe help clarify that a little. I would say, gosh, it's probably close to half the time through. If you just look at the whole year, half the time you're cutting grass. But what's the other half? I mean, weed eating, obviously picking up trash. But what are some other things that maybe the general public doesn't
um,
know?
events. If you're a Henry County resident, man, every weekend there's something going on in Henry County. I mean, you have a lot of
Mhm.
options. Um, we have an event calendar that we'll have 2 events, 3 events in a month, every month.
Mhm.
Movie Under the Stars events. We'll have soapbox derby races, um, um, concerts, you name it. And with all that comes stage setups, round tables, VIP areas, and then the guys have to work the event. So the guys are really working over 40 hours a week when the events come into town. So it's
Right.
it's Saturday nights and early Saturday mornings, never on
Mhm.
Sunday.
Right.
But it's heavy events. Um, and
And that's
that's
something I don't think we don't talk enough about the events, I think, as well. So let's just say you've got an event coming up. What are the things that you typically are assigned to your crew to kind of set up event like day of and then tear downs? What does that look
yeah.
like?
Friday, we pretty much lose a Friday for any kind of maintenance because we're geared towards setting up. And on a Friday, it could be setting up 2 parks for tournaments, setting up an event center for a rental over the weekend, and then we're going to have goodbye summer event at Heritage Park on Saturday. So, everybody's moving things around, whatever's requested on my calendar, whether it be tents, tables, chairs, how many of them. We've put out 600 chairs. We've put out 10. We've put out 30 tables. We've hosted thousands. We've hosted hundreds. But you lose a Friday and a Monday, so because you got everything you put out Friday, you got to go pick back up on Monday. But then the guys are actually scheduled to work the event too. And usually what we would do is we'll just ask for volunteers. But since our calendar has grown so much, and that's a tribute to our special events team, they do such an amazing job that they want events. The commissioners want these things happen in their communities. So it's bringing all that together, and then taking it all down and working it in the process. So roughly, we try to do what we do in about 3 days.
Wow, that's crazy. The first job I ever had in my life, I was 14 years old, and it was for my park department. They had a community center, and every time they would host a wedding, they needed someone to just take the trash out of and put a new liner in, and then they would fill up these 4 or 5 trash cans a couple times during their big event. And I had this room where I would just watch TV and about every 30 minutes go and empty the trash. And they paid me $40 for that in the early 90s, late 80s. And I thought I was the richest man on earth when I got that $40.
Yeah. For sure. That's a lot of it, picking up trash. And, we have a saying around here too, that when other people play, we work. That's what we're here for, So any holiday, we got an event coming up. If it's Easter, we drop, I couldn't tell you how many. I bet they dropped 200,000 eggs out of a helicopter on Easter this past year.
Wow. Oh, tell me more about that. So y'all dropped, is that a regular thing, or what do y'all call that event?
Our spring festival. It's hosted at Nash Farms Park. It's a 300-400 acre farm, just if you can envision, just pastures. It has 3 main buildings at it. It has a black box theater, and it has a carriage house, we call it. And then it has an old museum that we're hoping to renovate and turn into like more of a wedding venue at some stage. We use a lot of weddings out there, a lot of different areas that some weddings will pop up out there.
And so it's probably super common that y'all have a free Friday or Monday where you're not setting up or tearing down from an event. Is that true?
We ain't had a free Friday or a Monday in 19 years.
That's it. And so you really only have 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, to do all the other things outside of special events that you're not assigned to.
Sometimes, not all the time. It just depends on what's going on that week. Who rented what event. We didn't have an event this past weekend. I don't think we have one this weekend. So we take advantage of those times and try to dig into the detail areas of what may be lacking at the time.
Now, do y'all have any software that y'all use to help manage all these projects and special events and stuff like that?
I can't speak for the events, but for us, I use a program called Productive Parks. The guys actually go in and log in their daily tasks, what they did, supervisor notes, and then I run a report every 15 days, 30 days. And
you said it's called Productive Parks? Productive Parks?
Yes, sir.
And so what do y'all pay for that a month? Is it per user? Any idea what it would cost for somebody to start using that?
That would be a question for our deputy administrator, Michelle Dunn.
Michelle,
She
ask
handles all that. Yeah.
Michelle. And that's one thing I'm digging into as a way to give back to the community is there's so many different softwares that are all throughout the departments. And I was working with somebody the other day and we got to like 19 softwares just in her department wide, right? And I was just blown away by how much software is driving a lot of the organizational tasks to
Right.
run a park and rec department.
I mean, if technology can help us put together information and provide it to people that are asking, that's what we're going to do. You know, and I can't tell you, I mean, having that sitting there, getting away from old handwritten notes and having that sitting in that program where if someone wants to question the last 2 years of their district, you know, we can show that. And it's, JP actually brought that on board when he came in. That's a new thing we've been doing over the last 3 years. And, I mean, I found all kind of value in it.
Right. So how does a work order process through your through your department?
So are you talking about with the productive parks portion, or are you talking about just a work order to get something repaired throughout the park or facility?
Yeah, let's talk about both of them. So yeah, first productive parks, and then let's just say you've got something that's oh, hold on. That's my next show alarm, but I got 35 minutes. Yeah, so let's say something's broken, something needs fixed. How does that work order come through your whole system? And then also productive parks with probably a separate conversation.
All right. So productive parks, real quick. I mean, the guys have mobile devices, they have tablets, they have all that. They have a mobile app. So as they go out through the day, they can just enter it. It's very user friendly, and they hit submit, and it goes right into the program. And I can see everything for everybody. Like right now, I can pull it up and I can tell, you know, who's been doing what. Now we do have some people that are technology challenged, and so we'll give them, you know, they have a piece of paper that they fill out, and then I have, you know, one of my leadership guys will enter it for them and make sure it's all current and up to date. Inside the parks or any inside the facilities or anything like that, that's a simple, you know, put a work order in that goes over to our building maintenance department. They manage it, prioritize it, and take care of anything like that. Electrical, plumbing, HVAC, construction.
What y'all's turnaround time? Oh, I know you probably have different levels of urgency. So you might have one that drop what you do and go put this fire out kind of thing. And then all the way down to, hey, this needs to be taken care of before this special event. And then maybe this is something on your next project. So what's the different categories there of urgency?
Everything's urgent.
Yeah. Everything's a fire.
No, but think about this for a second, because I try to be intentional about the way we go about this. If you have a problem, Craig, and you need me to help you solve it, that's very urgent to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, now everybody that's coming to me for problems, it's urgent to them. So when they leave me, I want them to understand or feel like, man, I got you. I understand how you feel right now, and we're going to make sure this is taken care of immediately. Because if I don't take care of stuff immediately, it's going to fall to the wayside, man.
Yeah.
That's the not so good version of me, you know?
Right.
I identify, I know that, but so I know we take care of it now.
Yeah.
And I can put that to rest.
Yeah. And so every crew, I imagine, starts their day with here's the stuff we're taking care of today. And then, you know, stuff gets put on that list, whether it was, you know, last night or first thing in the morning, but y'all are taking care of it each day.
Yeah. I try to leave my grass crews alone, and I try to let my leadership team do a lot of the day-to-day like requests and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. They're kind of like your firemen that are going to put out fires that pop up out of nowhere. Absolutely. And then now let's go back to some of the other machines that y'all use. So aside from the grass cutters, obviously a truck and a trailer, what about your weed eaters, blowers, spreaders, all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
We run all steel equipment, steel blowers, steel weed eaters.
Why did y'all choose steel? Is it just they got a good vendor locally, or is it over time it just?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a good product. Steel's a good product. They have a good, they have a good history of products. And we've been dealing with steel for my whole career. And not only that, but through my parents, growing up with them, you know, they just, that was what was more reliable for us,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of issues with small engines,
Yeah.
I have a 300-gallon spray rig that our integrated pest management plan is ran through, and then I have a 200-gallon Toro. She's a 20-year-old veteran, but she does good. And we use both those, and then I have two pull behind units, like you would see, like in the bed of somebody's truck in your neighborhood, spraying somebody's front lawn. I have two of those, and one of those actually has two nozzles on it that I'll use to spray like a lot of our pasture land, like Nash Farms, or if we have disc golf that is basically pasture land, I'll use it to spray those areas.
Now, what are the changes that what was the name of the guy that was, I guess, I don't know if he's a master greenskeeper or whatever for the golf courses. What was his name again?
Chris Calmonero.
Chris. And so how long have y'all had him on board?
I hired him part-time at the golf course when he was 17 years old.
Oh, nice.
He's been with us. He's 28 now. So he's been with us for a while now. And he grew up kind of, his parents had a landscape company, and he grew up working and understood the business. And then when I introduced him to greens programs and chemicals and, how we can manipulate plants to be better, man, he just drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak. And, I call him a mad scientist because he's better at it than I am now. I mean, we can have that conversation for sure, but I mean, he's really dialed into it.
Yeah. And so if you're a Parks and Rec department that's looking to take your fields from just cutting the weeds to actually we want to have healthy turf and one species of grass, what are some of the changes that you use? I know it's incremental. But what are some of the first few steps that you take from just nothing but weeds and you're just cutting them to, okay, let's actually do this right, like a true sports field with the right grass and irrigation stuff?
The first thing to do is take a soil sample and identify your water needs. Make sure your irrigation system is working properly. Make sure your heads are spinning properly. Make sure that the water that's coming out of the heads has a uniform spray or mist across it. Because sometimes we'll go out, or I've been called out to look at something, and it's like just a green circle, and then on the outside it's just brown, and then it's just a green circle and it's brown, and then we get into the irrigation system, and I'm like, well, it's not watering this other stuff. That's why. And then you just make some adjustments. But do a soil sample, figure out what's going on underneath your feet. That will tell you exactly what you need to do. Get your water right, and then start identifying weeds. Start figuring out what you actually have there. And if you don't know, bring in a professional, somebody that can identify and put you on the right medicine, so to speak. Plant ID is a tricky business. Sometimes you would think that certain weeds would fall into a grassy weed scenario, but they're not. They're actually a broadleaf, and they will not react to what you're spraying. The pH level of your soil can actually help out a lot. And I'm giving this because these are some cheaper things you can do. You can core aerate, that's cheap. You can top dress with sand. People get sticker shocked with the price on that, but it's not that bad. It's only like $800 a load. You do 2-3 loads and you'll be fine. Plant ID, make sure you know your weeds, and then understand what grass you're trying to grow, and then feed that grass.
Right. Yeah, so I imagine that the grass is a reflection of the dirt. And so if you've got terrible dirt, you just can't grow grass inside of highly compacted, or if your pH is off or anything like that, you're just wasting your time starting with the grass. So you would say start with the soil, or is the water maybe the better place to start?
I would start with the water and then take a soil sample. I would do both at the same time because
Yeah.
you're gonna need to know both. You're gonna have to have both.
Mm,
You can't grow a tomato without water in it.
right.
That applies across the board.
Yeah. So water, understand your soil, and then after you get those two things squared away, then okay, what are you trying to grow? And let's make sure we create a healthy environment for that
So
species.
yeah, it depends on where you're at in the country. It depends on where you're at. For us, it's Bermuda grass. We want Bermuda grass, and
Mhm.
so anything crabgrass or any type of weedy, uh, grassy weeds, broadleaf weeds, Virginia buttonweed, anything like that. We're trying to get rid of all that.
Mhm.
And years ago, we used to be very reactive. So we would see things popping up, and we'd be like, "Oh gosh, we got to go buy some things, and we got to go spray this now." Well, fast forward, now we've become more proactive. Now we don't even give it a chance. We don't even want to see that. And what that's done for us is it's been better on our equipment. It's allowed our staff to have a higher morale because they feel better about something they're cutting that looks more pristine than
Mhm.
something that's growing. Because this time of year, if you haven't sprayed your parks and you're riding around right now and you're seeing weeds this tall, you
Mhm.
can cut them today. In 3 days, they're going to be back. That's
They'll be
just
back.
the nature. That's they coming back.
Right.
It's the end cycle of the of the weed, and that's why
Right.
they're trying to bloom. We're getting ready to go into a summer cycle of weeds. Your hairy
Right.
crabgrasses, your smooth crabgrasses, your sedges, things like that are what's getting ready to come summer. But we try to stay proactive. We don't want to
Yeah.
see that. So
Yeah.
a lot
Well,
of
man,
planning, a lot of prepping.
I can't believe we're already at an hour. I'm looking at the time and it just snuck up on us. But maybe we can get you and Chris to come back on another show and just take a deeper dive into maintaining those facilities, at least on the lawn side, and keeping really good sports field and all the science behind it. I'd love to go deeper on that topic.
I would
Um,
love to introduce you to all of my team because they all have. We're like Smurfs, man. They all
yeah,
have their own little thing, and they bring it to the village.
I love it. I love it. Well, yeah, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
I'll hit you up on LinkedIn and maybe let's schedule another show in a couple of weeks to get you and Chris back
Awesome.
on here and just go even deeper on that one subject. And
All
then,
right,
of
cool.
course, we're behind the scenes with JP and the whole crew trying to gear up for this second Wednesday show on Henry County. But yeah, man, appreciate you coming on today.
The doorman, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You have a great week.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Brian.
See
Bye.
you.
All right, so that was Bryan Dixon over at Henry County. He's in charge of. Well, you heard what he's in charge of. It's crazy what these guys handle in a week, in a month, in a year, and how much they're able. It blows my mind the chaos that these men exist in, and how they're able to just organize it. And it's constant change. It's constant unforeseen breakages, unforeseen special events, and the way at which they handle it year in and year out. And this is what it takes to keep your parks and your sports fields and your communities operational and beautiful. And I'm so glad. Thank you to all the Parks and Rec directors that suggested I do a show for the facilities maintenance side. And they were right. It is truly a side that they all admit we could not do what we do without them. They're the unsung heroes of Parks and Recreation, and there is so much wisdom inside of the masters and the craftsmen that keep our facilities just functioning. And then on top of that, they make them look beautiful. And on top of that, they prepare and tear down for special events that are rolling in almost every single weekend of the year. And so I really am enjoying kind of pulling the curtain back on this part of Parks and Rec called the facilities maintenance side, knowing that this is roughly at least 1/3 to upwards of half of all the man hours and money and capital is spent in maintaining and repairing and upgrading these facilities of this massive real estate portfolio that Parks and Rec are the stewards of. So, really great show. So, again, for those of you that don't know, that might be new to this show, this is the Daily Parks and Rec Show. This is a media company, DPRS, Daily Parks and Rec Show media company. So the parent company is DPRS Media Company, and this is a company, a media organization, a network of media specifically focused on parks and recreation. And today's show is a 4-day-a-week show, 10:30 Eastern, Monday through Thursday. All we're going to talk about is facility maintenance. So this is going to be highlighting careers of people like Bryan, and shout out to Garrett. I saw he gave us a thumbs up. Garrett James is another maintenance professional, very similar to Bryan, tackling all very similar issues there. So he's a regular on the show. And so I love highlighting these careers, but also asking them to dig deep and just tell us what they do, how they do it, the machines they use, the obstacles they face. Maybe even I can get to them to start sharing some of the face plants that they made early on in their career, things they had to learn the hard way. And so hopefully that's helpful to the overall Parks and Rec facilities maintenance community, that, you know, you can learn from Bryan and Garrett's lifelong careers of maintaining these facilities and maybe not repeat some of the mistakes that they made when they were younger in their careers. So, all right. So again, this is a Monday through Thursday show, 10:30 Eastern on facilities maintenance. Now, next, coming up here shortly, I think I have 20 minutes, we will start the leaders in Parks and Rec. And our guest coming on is Tyler Agee, and he will be part of our leadership series. This is another 4-day-a-week show, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, leaders in Parks and Rec. These are directors, assistant directors, or just specialists in their field that we bring on so that we can capture a lot of the wisdom that they've attained over their lifetime on our leadership series. This was actually our flagship series that came out. And actually, it's not a series, it's just a regular show. So I think we call it, the new brand is Leaders in Parks and Rec. And then don't forget about, we've got 3 new shows coming up. Of course, we've got our Young Professionals Network every Friday. Shout out to Aaron Locke. We're doing something for him. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and run a little promo for Aaron real quick. This is his company. He works inside of youth sports. And now we have a weekly show every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, just focusing on youth sports. And I met him as one of the very gifted and talented people that serve this community of youth sports. Let me go ahead and run this little promo for him, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about it and close it out and prepare for our leadership series. So here we go.
I researched every franchise opportunity out there, and I found National Academy of Athletics. And from the very first person I talked to the support that I'm receiving every single day, it has been phenomenal, fantastic, and has reaffirmed the point that I made the right decision in joining such an amazing company.
Well, I think that was supposed to run a little bit longer, but I'll have to find out which went wrong there. So Aaron runs a company that helps with managing your youth sports program, your rec leagues, and that kind of stuff, and really brings home community youth sports. So we're talking about a lot of times we see this movement, or there has been a movement to just cater to the most gifted athletes, people, kids that may have potential to have a college scholarship, maybe even go into the major leagues or professional sports like that. But really the message for at least the community that I see Parks and Rec get into this industry for is to serve everybody through athletics. And so not just the ones that are naturally athletically gifted, but don't we want to teach all those lessons that are embedded in those coaching moments, not just the kids that are naturally gifted at either basketball, swimming, whatever, but how many of us can remember life lessons being taught and then we became an engineer and never really we didn't get a college scholarship and we're not playing professional sports. So that's his whole world. We've dedicated a weekly show, so 52 shows a year will be focused on youth sports. So if you are a coach, an athlete, a pro athlete, or maybe an athletic director or something, we've got a show just for you as part of the Daily Parks and Rec Show family that's just going to be focused on youth sports. So tune into that. That's going to be tomorrow. We have a great episode, a PhD doctor that this is his world. He is coming in and bringing in a lot of expertise and the psychology behind youth sports. And then he actually has a podcast that he does on the same topic. And we're going to try to, hopefully, we can make it to where we bring them in as one of the shows that we help promote and get the great message that he has out. So a lot of exciting stuff happening over here at the Daily Parks and Rec Show. I'll see y'all in about 16 minutes for the Leaders in Parks and Rec Show. So great episode. Thank you so much, Bryan, for coming on. And I'll see y'all here in a few minutes. Thanks. Bye.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show, where we highlight the essential work that keeps our parks and facilities thriving. From local ball fields to multi-use athletic complexes, field maintenance ensures every space is safe, ready, and welcoming for play and community events. Facility maintenance is the backbone of operational excellence, ensuring that recreation centers, playgrounds, and shared spaces are functional, clean, and built to last. Behind the scenes, equipment maintenance keeps vital tools and machinery in peak condition. At the core of future forward thinking is sustainability management, integrating green practices that reduce environmental impact and enhance long-term resource stewardship. Facilities maintenance is more than routine upkeep. It's strategic, essential, and foundational to building healthy and resilient communities. This is the Daily Parks and Rec Show, honoring the professionals who keep our spaces running and our communities strong.